Meanwhile, the World Wide Fund for Nature says South Africa says there's strong evidence that most of the country's rhino horn are destined for the Vietnamese market. WWF SA briefed the media in Cape Town. As the world marks World Rhino Day, research shows that in Vietnam, horns are no longer used for medicinal purposes only, but also as a status symbol. WWF SA is currently targeting Vietnamese to create awareness. Well, for more on that story, we now cross to Jo Shaw. She's the Rhino Program Manager at the World Wide Fund for Nature, and we're live to her now in our Sea Point studios in the mother city. Good afternoon, Jo. Thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Thank you for having me.
Jo, rangers in a war, they're just not winning. Is it a matter of there being just enough boots on the ground to fight this scourge?
Well, absolutely. The brave men and women on the front line are fundamental to our fight. We need a well-trained, well-equipped and well-motivated ranger force to protect our rhinos fundamentally as the very first level of defence. But at this point, we're simply treating the symptom and not really getting to the root of the cause. So we need to be dealing with the bigger drivers as well as the vital security and protection for our rhinos on the ground.
Jo, a kilo of rhino horn is right now the most expensive commodity on earth. I mean, surely this speaks specifically to the need for more demand reduction campaigns, especially ones targeted to the Asian bloc. Take us through your Chi campaign and what it hopes to achieve.
Yes, thank you. So we've undertaken some very detailed and interesting research in Vietnam to understand exactly who's buying rhino horn, what is driving them to do it, and what are they using it for. The reason for which was to design the very targeted behaviour change campaign that we've released today. So we had a good picture of who our main consumer is, the archetype of who's buying and using rhino horn. A middle-aged man, maybe 35 to 50, living in one of the main urban centres in Vietnam. He's very wealthy and successful. The opinion of his peers is very important to him, and he's using rhino horn in a way to display that status, to display his wealth and success within that close-knit group.
Jo, how crucial is it for us to implement conservation programs that benefit poorer communities around the parks? We know this is where poachers are recruited. Now, you've had first-hand experience of some of these communities in Mozambique, and this is a desperate situation for many of the households there.
Absolutely. I mean, hunger is a very real problem in many of those households. Hand in hand with demand reduction campaigns, with excellent law enforcement such as the hawks arrests that we've seen, with support from rangers on the ground, we do also need to be working with these communities, coming up with alternative, sustainable livelihoods to give them alternatives to taking part in rhino crimes.
Let's quickly talk about transnational crime and the need now to tighten up our borders. Right now we have just over 100 men protecting 300 kilometres of border. But how crucial is it for neighbouring countries like Mozambique to commit to the fight against this scourge?
It's absolutely vital. We were very pleased to see the MOU being signed between South Africa and Mozambique, and the recent change in the conservation area laws in Mozambique, which now finally makes it illegal to kill rhinos, to kill wildlife in that country. But we do need to see much stronger ongoing cooperation between South Africa and Mozambique in combating rhino crimes on the ground. If we're, that long porous border in Kruger with Mozambique is one of the big challenges that we have to overcome, and South Africa can't do that alone.
We also don't want to see a situation where we see parks like the Kruger Park, where there's an excessive militarization of the Kruger, rather, shall I say. After all, it is a natural sanctuary, but keeping the rhinos safe is a priority. How do we strike a healthy balance, Jo?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. I mean, it's almost inconceivable to us that Kruger is now losing 2 to 3 rhinos a day. Whoever would have believed that, even 4 or 5 years ago? I think we need to follow the strategy that's coming from within the park itself. The Sound Parks team talk about clearing the park from the outside. So in addition to the vital need for good protection on the ground, the kind of work we've talked about today, working with communities, trying to bust up these transnational syndicates, and then ultimately working to clamp down on the consumer end, all of these things can play a part together.
Thank you. Joe Shaw is the Rhino Program Manager at the Worldwide Fund for Nature. Thank you for your time on the PM News Desk. Well, time to take a short break.